Okay. Very good afternoon. Assalamualaikum, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me? Hi, everyone.
Yes, can you, sir?
Yes, can
All
hear
right.
you.
Hi, Ishak. How are you? All right. All right. So, hope everyone is fine. Yeah. So far, so good. Yeah. So, can we proceed with the lectures? Yeah. So today we're going to look at the. Okay. So Siti Sarah replied to me. Thank you, Siti Sarah. Okay. You have any questions, Sarah? No? All right. Okay, Sarah. So, all right. So we're going to discuss on the requirements elicitation, the first part of the lecture on requirements elicitation today, yeah? And then next week, we're going to discuss more on the techniques. All right. Oh, someone record for me. Thank you. All right. So I need to... Who's recording? Is it, are you the one, Siti Sarah? Recording the meetings? No? Yes? Yes? It's okay. All right. Okay. So we proceed with our discussion here on the requirements elicitation. So this is one of the core activities that is needed for the requirements engineering process as a whole. All right. How many of you? Just remind me to record your attendance as well through here one. Yeah, I just think that it would be nice as well. Oh, Najmi. All right. Thank you, Najmi. Okay, so of course, when we talk about requirements elicitation, it refers to the activities involved, to actually discover, in other words, try to gather the requirements of the system to be understood. Yeah, we need to actually understand the systems, basically in terms of the problems. We have mentioned this. Yeah, that means we try to look at the system context. Yeah, try to identify the problem to be solved, the services, in terms of the functionalities or the functional requirements, and then we also need to understand the performance of the systems in terms of the quality requirements as well as all the constraints that is needed for the system to be developed. And of course, it looks simple, but actually it involves a lot of people, stakeholders, and so on. So that's why we need to actually specify clearly what are the important element or components that need to be understood when we do or we perform requirements elicitation, because it's not that simple, especially for the complex systems right now, especially when the software system is growing more complex each day due to the demands from the users, due to the complexity of the processes that need to be supported. So we need to actually understand, perform careful analysis of the involved organization. We also need to understand its application domain and environment. When we talk about application domain, it need to be understood in terms of the domain knowledge. So for example, if we want to actually implement the cataloging system for the library information systems, so that is not easy, because it's not just about trying to catalog. We need to understand the whole systems of the library actually. We need to know how actually they sort their items in the libraries, what kind of system they have been using for sorting those materials, the library materials in the library systems. So we need to understand the environment, and also how the process that has been performed in the organization, in order to understand the system. The system that we want to develop may be just a small part of the bigger system in the environment. So that's the reason we need to understand the application domain. And the application domain can be different. It's different from one to another. We can, for example, develop the system for, like I mentioned to you, the library information system. So we need to know about the library domain. Domain knowledge of the libraries. If you want, for example, to develop the railway signaling system, for example, we need to know about the railways. How does the system works? How the scheduling of the railways or the train need to be performed. Actually, we need to even know how actually is the the quality or the capability of the train, yeah, so that we'll be able to come up with proper system for the scheduling, yeah, for the railway system. So that is the reason, understanding not just about the technical system or the software, but also the domain knowledge in which the system is going to be operating. Yeah, so that's what we meant by the application domain and the environment. Yeah, also include, if this in the business sectors or in terms of organization, we need to understand as well what kind of business processes and activities that the system that we're going to develop is supposed to support. Yeah, so this is require a lot of work, yeah, in terms of the what we mentioned as requirements elicitation process. Okay, all right, so we need to perform effective requirement elicitation because it's going to be very important, and because we want to enable at the end to achieve or to satisfy, yeah, the customers' requirements. In other words, yeah, we don't want just to have a system that cannot actually fully supporting the satisfactory of the customer. Yeah, and requirements engineer face some problems in requirements elicitation inherent to the multi-dimensional nature of requirements elicitation. Yeah, we'll see why it is the problem, because we not just deal with the tangible things, we also have to deal a lot with the intangible things, yeah, in which, you know, we have to understand the people, yeah, their feelings, yeah, their thoughts, yeah, their vision and so on. So these are actually multi-dimensional nature of requirements elicitation. Yeah. All right, so these are the challenges. Yeah, we mentioned again a few things that we need to bear in mind when we perform requirements elicitation. First, we need to know that domain knowledge is important. So when you want to develop, for example, the library systems, we need to go and get the domain knowledge about the libraries. How does it functions? If we want to do medical system, for example, the what we call as the immunization systems. Yeah, right now they're thinking about developing. Of course, there are several systems already. We need to know about the knowledge about the vaccine. Yeah, the usefulness of the vaccine in terms of how we can actually schedule for the vaccination and so on. So that is the domain knowledge of a particular system that we want to do in the health. Yeah, is the health domain. Yeah, basically. Yeah, so another thing, this which actually contribute to the difficulties of trying to understand domain knowledge, because it lies in several, it's not just in one place. Yeah, you want to understand domain knowledge of health, we need to get to know from a lot of people, it's not just from one place. We need to get to know specialists, there are a variety of sources. It may involve a lot of terminologies, if you look about vaccine now, how long what is the dosage about, what is dosage actually, yeah, dose, and then about the duration of the immunization. So all this terminology, yeah, need to be understood in the proper way. Yeah, so domain knowledge is not easy. Yeah, so any system that you want to develop, one of the main component or the challenges that we need to do is to understand the domain knowledge. Yeah, and it does not just be in one place. So we need to go through and understand all this, yeah, from several sources, yeah, from several places as well. All right, another challenge is in terms of the stakeholders. Yeah, most of the time our main sources will be stakeholders, and stakeholders who understand the problem to be solved. Usually the specialists, the experts are busy people. Yeah, they are busy solving the problem. Yeah, so we need to catch them. Yeah, so that's another word. Yeah? We need to schedule the meetings with them, try to understand what is the availability and so on. So this, yeah, is issue as well. This is a challenge. Yeah, and sometimes they cannot spend time and not convinced of the need for new systems. Yeah, so that is our job as well, to actually convince them that the system that you want to develop or propose to them will be beneficial to them. Yeah, so this is maybe another challenge. Yeah. The third challenge will be the organizational issues and political factors that may influence the system's requirements. Yeah, you know that knowledge is power, right? So many of the top management may, of course, realize this. Yeah, so they want to control certain knowledge. Yeah, so that they are only accessible to them. Yeah, so you have to play these tricks as well. Yeah, in any organization. Yeah, there are some issues, there are some political factors that we have to deal with. Yeah, so we have to be smart. Yeah, to be able to see which stakeholders has a lot of power and which one actually can give us a lot of information to us and so on. So this is another challenge. Yeah, the higher management can be, can actually give you a lot of information with certain, condition and so on. Yeah, so we have to negotiate. Yeah, in terms of a lot of negotiation techniques that we can use to be able to try to get the information that we want. Yeah. Okay, another issue that can pose some problems, is in terms of stakeholders, because most stakeholders, you see, they might have a lot of information about the organizational issues, about the process that they are able to do, the things that they always do, but they may not so much, they may not be able to give you direct input about the technicalities, so they might mention about the problems that they have, what they expect from you. So this can lead us to have this kind of problems. They may not really know what they want in terms of the technicalities, in terms of the technical requirements. So you cannot ask them, what quality requirements do you want, or what, but they might just talk in their way. They just, we can just ask them about their concerns, what are their main processes that they think is the most important, that they want to be supported. So you have to talk to them in their language so that we can extract and put it in technical terms, in a proper way, or in more specifications, in the correct specification for us. So that is what we refer as this. They may have not problem to articulate their problem correctly, or maybe some of them, because of they have seen all these AI technologies and so on, they may make what we refer as unrealistic demands as well. So we have to deal with them. We have to be actually to convince them what is needed and what is necessary to support their system. All right. Okay, so mentioned here as well in terms of the facts that, due to the current economy and business environment is constantly changing, this can also give us demand as well during our requirements elicitation process, because we have to follow the trend as well. So sometimes you propose some technologies, they may say that we have a newer technologies. Why don't you use that? So that's also may create challenges for our process of our activities of requirements elicitation. In other words, we're saying that sometimes the people consulted at some stage in the process may change jobs. So, we might see several stakeholders, and then after a few months, they might have, left for another job. So we have to find new stakeholders, the one that can provide us with more information. So this is also the challenge. Another thing that we might mention is that not everyone has their own perspective. Everyone have their own views of what they think is important. So that's the reason we said that what we need to do is to be able to negotiate the requirements from them, to be able for them to reach the consensus of what they want. Because if we meet several people, they might have different views of what the requirements should be. So that is our job as well as the requirements engineer, to be able to explain and reach or negotiate, basically. Try to reach a consensus among all the requirements that they mention, so that we be able to come up with a specific or similar requirement specification. So at least you see many challenges that might be due to all these differing perspective and also different understanding of the problems to be solved. Okay, another word we might say as well, if we have to clarify these things, I think I've seen it, I've explained to you last week, that actually elicitation, analysis, negotiation, specifications, management as well, they are not actually sequential, right? So most of these activities, we can view that as a kind of a spiral activities. Sometimes you go and elicit the requirements from one stakeholders and then try to analyze, but we feel there's a lot of ambiguity there that we need to go and get another stakeholders to get requirements. So you can see that it seems like we have to go around several. So this works together in a spiral. We can call it a spiral way, meaning that you might do some analysis, negotiate that with several stakeholders, and then try to analyze them again, So we come back to elicitation, and then analyze them. So these are kind of a spiral process, yeah, they have to go through, yeah, so that we'll be able to clear, to get the clearer and relevant requirements, yeah, to be able to specify, yeah, the relevant requirements at the almost before we go to the next level, yeah, before we go to the next stage of requirements engineering process, yeah. So a kind of, you can see this is more on a spiral model, the process that is going on between elicitation, analysis, negotiation, and specification. All right. So having said that, why don't we specify the main component that should occur, yeah, that should be, performed, yeah, during the elicitation activities, yeah. At least we said these are the four main elements, yeah. The first one is we try to establish objective, yeah. This is the most important because when we try to meet the stakeholders, we want to know what is their business goal, what is their objective, yeah. We need to get the specific details of the customer's problems. We need to know actually why the systems that they want is the important for them. What are the constraints? What are their main vision? What are their main objective? What is the budgets? Yeah, the schedule like and so on. So all this what we mentioned as try to get understanding of, try to establish objective for the system to be developed. Yeah, of course the second component, yeah, is try to understand the background. Yeah, so that is what we also mentioned earlier. Yeah, we try to see, in terms of the organization structures, we need to understand the application domain knowledge. Yeah. And then we have to also see the existing systems, yeah, whether they already have previous systems, or maybe they just have the documentation, or they maybe have the manual systems. How does the old system works? Yeah, in other words, yeah, we have to understand the background. And then the third component is to organize those knowledge. Sometimes the knowledge is a lot. Yeah, we might have met or also identified a lot of stakeholders. So we need to get a lot of information. We already get a lot of information from them sometimes. So we need to organize those knowledge so that it can be useful. Yeah, in terms of stakeholder identification, goal. You have to prioritize them because sometimes there's a lot of goals. Yeah, and then also in terms of knowledge. Domain knowledge filtering, yeah, because sometimes, because of current era of knowledge, yeah, we see a lot of knowledge from everywhere, yeah, even in the internet, yeah, even from the documentation and so on. So we need to filter which are relevant, yeah. And then, of course, yeah, due to this, we have to collect them, yeah, basically try to get and prioritize those knowledge, all right. And then, in other words, we're saying that based on this, we have to collect the requirements, yeah. Knowledge, everything that we have said, the background, we need to understand everything. The core things as well is to collect the requirement, the system requirements that they want, yeah. We need to actually consult system stakeholders. We need to understand the conditions and capabilities required by the stakeholders of the systems, yeah, all this. Functional requirements, quality requirements, in other words, that's going towards more specific requirements for the system, yeah, besides having to have all the other one, yeah, establish the objective, try to understand the background, try to organize all this knowledge so that it can lead to the proper useful requirements, yeah. All right, so in other words, we said here, establish objective meanings that get to know this, business goals, problems to be solved, the system constraints, try to understand background, including organization structure, application domain, yeah, domain knowledge, existing systems, yeah. Organize the knowledge in terms of stakeholder identification, yeah. Sometimes it's too many we're not sure which can be actually have the direct influence or indirect influence to our systems, so identify proper stakeholders, and then prioritize goals, yeah. Understand domain knowledge filtering, yeah, try to filter which is important, which is not. Collect those requirements, yeah, we have to collect proper requirements, acceptable requirements, domain requirements, organizational requirements, yeah, can be from the high level of organizational requirements going towards more specific, yeah, stakeholder requirements and domain requirements until the systems requirements, yeah, that you want to develop, yeah. Yeah, in other words, we said, yeah, in short, yeah, this is just a short kind of things, yeah. Basically, we need to get all this into understanding the whole element here in the system context, yeah, of stakeholders' needs, existing systems, business technical processes, physical technical events, as well as all the documentation and the existing systems. All right, so what is the guideline to get the requirement from stakeholders. Yeah, some of the guidelines. Yeah, that also we're going to look at least one or two techniques that can help us to be more specific on try to identify stakeholders. Yeah, because stakeholders actually are the main important sources of requirements. They can be a source of vision and requirements as well. So identifying them is very important. And sometimes we have to also to refer to the organization rules for collaborating with the stakeholders, and understand the tasks of stakeholders and requirements engineer, and also how to resolve if there is any conflicts, so usually, when we work as the requirements engineer or the developers in the organization in which we have to develop a system for our client, for example, they should establish a set of regulation, what can be done, what can be done to the in terms of negotiating with them, so there can be some rules that can help us to provide all this if there is any conflicts or any things that need to be resolved between stakeholders as well as between the requirements engineer and the stakeholders. All right. Okay, so if we look through back in terms of the perspective of the system context that we have learned from last week, we can say that actually we have to pick up the stakeholders from this. So you can see this can be the system context. They can come from the people outside. Also for people inside, within the company. Within the company, we can have the people from the management, the people that support the business process, the administrators. They can also be the people that have supporting the existing systems and developing systems. Also, all this supporting IT, people, the IT manager, the IT staff, the operation manager, the operation staff, can also, we can also identify the stakeholders from the external system, to be integrated. The people that actually support the external systems, that relate to the system that you're going to develop, as well as maybe, you can also look at the stakeholders from the competitors systems, the one that actually, develop any other system, so that can be the competitor of our system, So these all can be potential stakeholders, for the system to be developed, All right, so in other words, we have to identify that. So we'll be able to identify their name, their role, how to contact them, their availability, their relevances, how relevant are they to our systems, their area of expertise, their goals, So this can be the specific information, that we need to keep track if we are able to identify stakeholders which are relevant to us, But it's not that, actually there can be, in many organizations, there can be so many stakeholders. So we're going to look at specific techniques afterwards. But at least we need to know that when we have, when we are faced with these things, we need to be able to create a list of stakeholders. So this is what we mentioned as the identification of stakeholders, by listing, the names, the role, the contact information, and so on, Okay, so now we introduce at least two techniques that I think can be useful and how you can actually identify the stakeholders. When we say that there are many stakeholders, so meaning that we can actually, because it's too many, it can be coming from the managers, can be coming from the administrators, there can be many coming from the potential users, internal users, direct users, indirect users, and so on. So one of the techniques that we can use to identify stakeholders is to actually specify stakeholder types. Classify them by types. For example, we say, okay, there will be types of managers. So there are many managers, right? So one type is managers. So based from the managers, we will be able to identify which are the most relevant to the system. Which one has the influence to actually give a lot of information about the system to be proposed, to be developed, So in other words, we say identify stakeholder types. Based on the types, we can have, if you want to identify the stakeholder, can be hundreds. So it's quite difficult, So I don't classify them based on type. So, okay, we can have one type of managers. We can have one types of users, We can have one types of administrators, and so on. Depends on the system that you want to develop. Based on that, you're going to identify the roles, specify stakeholder roles, and then select the stakeholders. Yeah. After we know, for example, from managers, there can be several roles that they can play. One is serving the IT, one is serving, for example, the financial, one is serving about the the HR, the human resource. So we can, based on this, select specific, maybe one or two representing from each of the roles that we have identified. All right, and then associate the stakeholder with the roles, and then we analyze their influence and interests. And then if you think they have a lot of influence, they have the interest, then they can be in our stakeholder list. All right, so that's simple techniques, yeah? Another technique that might be useful as well is like this one here, maybe in terms of organizational analysis, we can say, yeah, we can use what we refer as a stakeholder analysis technique, which is based on power versus interest, because there's a lot of people, yeah, stakeholders, there's a lot of power and a lot of interest, yeah, so we can try to cluster them, put in groups, yeah. So maybe some of them can be classified as which has, very low interest as well as very low power, you know. They are not so, in terms of interest to the system, they have a very low interest. In terms of power as well in the organization, they are quite low in power, yeah, in terms of giving instructions and so on. So we can group them here, yeah, in the bottom left corner, yeah. So the second group, the one that have a lot of interest, yeah, but not so much power. So we can put here, yeah, in the subject matters, yeah. And then we have another group, yeah, in which they have a lot of power, but in terms of interest, they are quite low current, yeah. And then after that, maybe, yeah, we can consider this is the most important for us, in which the one that has highest interest, the most interest, as well as a lot of power, yeah, to influence the decisions and so on. So we can call them the main players of the system. So the one that we put here maybe can be prioritized as important stakeholders for us. All right, so this is a possible technique that you have to use in order to identify the stakeholders that is relevant, yeah, for us, yeah. So he mentioned about here. So you can also plan here to have another technique that can help you to be more specific in seeing how these what we call stakeholders can participate, yeah, can participate in our process of getting requirements and so on. We can use what we refer as a participation planning matrix, yeah. So you can see, for example, we can have a table in which we list this, how actually they can influence, how the stakeholders can give us, can help us, yeah, whether they are the one that can just inform, we can consult them, or we can involve them, yeah, inside our discussion, or they can just collaborate by giving us emails and so on about the information, or they can empower us, they can give a power for us to decide on certain material. So you can also classify your stakeholders according to their participation that they can provide to us. All right, so this is, maybe you can use it, yeah, if necessary, but the basic thing is you want this to be able to identify the relevant, yeah, stakeholders that can give us a lot of information about the system to be developed. Yeah, so that is the target. Yeah, how we actually use what kind of techniques that you want to use. We can make use of any of these techniques. Yeah. All right. So, Zamil, yes, Zamil. Any comments, Zamil? Okay. Yeah. It's an Azan time. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, can you look through here, yeah, before just 1 or 2 minutes? Just ponder a little bit. Okay, thank you. So just highlight again before we go to the role of the stakeholders and requirements engineer. So we have to always bear in mind this is the 4 main components that need to be performed during elicitation activities: establishing the objective, understanding the background, try to organize those knowledge, filter them, and then collect the relevant requirements. Okay. And then we mentioned as well the important elements here within the 4 components. And then we talk about this, in short, these are the things that we need to get, the sources of requirements. Okay, so these are the guidelines, of stakeholders. We mentioned about the possible identification of stakeholders from the context, the system context. They can be, getting from the subject context, the information from the IT context, and so on. So these are the elements that we can identify to be our stakeholders or the context objects to provide us resources for the requirements, sources of requirements. Stakeholder list, we mentioned at least 3 techniques actually, but actually they are interrelated. You can make use of this to be able to identify relevant stakeholders. You can, for example, use this identification, specify stakeholder types, and then specify the stakeholder roles, and then select specific stakeholders from each category or from each stakeholder types, and then you can associate the stakeholders with specific roles that they can play, and then also analyze influence and interests of each stakeholders. If they are important, that these stakeholders can be in our stakeholder list. We also mentioned that another technique that we can use as well to be able to identify stakeholders is to put them in this what we call as a power versus interest grid. You classify, for example, you look at the stakeholders group, for example, they belong to which grid? Is it they have a high interest, high power, or low interest or low power? So you can actually categorize or put them in grid. So what we can say in the top left is the one that has high interest, low power. The below left here, the grid here is on what we refer as that has a low power and low interest, and then we have the right here below grid here. That means they are actually have a lot of power, but they have low interest in our systems. And then the one that can contribute a lot to us is the one that has actually high interest as high power, that can actually give us a lot of decisions. They can decide for us a lot of decisions as well. So these are what we call as the important players for our systems. And then we also mentioned to you that you can also use this, what they call as a participation planning matrix, to also see how actually these stakeholders can contribute to us, whether they are in the category of can help us to inform information, they can actually to be consulted in certain matters, or can also be involved in our workshops and so on, or they can, be more in terms of collaborations, or the one that has a lot of power, they can empower us, to do certain things, in our decision-making process. So this can be also another techniques that can help us planning, in terms of identifying stakeholders to be involved in our process of requirements elicitation. All right, so we said that the second rule, rules for collaboration, we need to actually make sure that monitor the stakeholders, because sometimes, of course, they don't allow us to mix around with so many people. We have to ask for permission, from the management, to be able to allow us to meet, get these stakeholders involved in our projects. So these are the things that we need to do, rules for. We need to document their tasks, responsibilities, and authority of stakeholders and the requirements engineer. We have to actually also provide level of formality. So the level of formality actually so much depends on the organizational culture. Some organizational culture are very, they don't have so much formality, so we can just mix around. But there can be some formal organization in which everything need to be you have to have a formal letter, to be able to meet with people. So you have to see how actually each organization works. Okay. All right, so the last 2 things that we need to remember is we need to understand the task of stakeholders. Yes, the stakeholders, we said about selection just now, actually what do they can contribute to us? Actually, what are their role? What are their responsibility that can help us in the process of requirements elicitation? Yeah. So of course, the stakeholders are the one that can provide us or explain to us in terms of the domain knowledge. Yeah. They can supply the requirements to us, yeah, in terms of the vision, the objective, the goals, the work, the processes, and so on. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, most of these stakeholders can make decisions. Yeah, they can decide which one is more important, this functionality or this functionality, because they are the one that is involved. Yeah, the system going to help them. Yeah, so they can make decisions. They can also, some of the stakeholders can actually, know about the cost, schedule, and feasibility of the requirements implementation. And this is the most important as well, actually, because after we have actually get the requirements from them, negotiate with them, analyze them, put them in the specification, we can actually ask them to check, to validate, yeah, the system requirement specification. So stakeholders has a very important role of checking, yeah, the system requirement specification that we have written, yeah. They can also communicate the changes in organization that affect the requirements, yeah, and also comply. So they have, if they want to apply for changes, they have to follow certain process, what they refer as a change management process, yeah. And then of course, yeah, if we as a requirements engineer, we have a rule, we have a procedure, specific procedure that we go about in performing our jobs. The stakeholder should be able to respect the RE procedures that we have set. Yeah. All right. So back to our jobs. Yeah. So what need we do? I mean, what are the things that we need to do? We have highlighted to you the 4 components just now. Yeah. So again, yeah, as a requirements engineer, we have to understand the domain knowledge, the project vision, the project objective, yeah, the goals of the users, yeah. We have to create an understandable requirements documentation, yeah. So that is our end target, yeah. At the end of the day of our RE process, we should be able to come out or create or write, yeah, an understandable requirements documentation, yeah. What I share with you, the SRS, right? So yeah, most organization or many of the organization will be able to, set the standards that they have to produce the system requirement specification, yeah, in certain formats, yeah. And then we have to analyze problems and present ideas and all that. So this is always our jobs, yeah. Have to see the problems. If there's any problems, we have to actually expect, be able to address these problems. Ensure the requirements reaches the vision of the stakeholders. So this is our target as well, yeah. Besides just having to create the documentation, actually the most important goal of any of the requirements engineer and so I mean developers, we want to ensure that the requirements that we have be able to specify will be able to achieve the stakeholders' goal and vision, yeah. That's what we want, yeah. At the end of the day, it's no point as well, yeah, to be able to write a very thick requirement specs, yeah, 100 of pages, yeah, but this will not be satisfying our customers' need, yeah. So there's no point, yeah. All right. So in short, this is the summary, yeah. We have gone to very fast, I think, but this is the core elements that we want to highlight today. We talk about requirement sources, yeah, requirement sources. What are the things that we need to do, yeah, of course, but main sources, yeah, we have to always keep in mind. These are the 3 main types of requirement sources, yeah. We talk about, we talk a lot about stakeholders just now, yeah. So of course, stakeholders is one of the main type of requirement sources, yeah. And then of course, another types of requirement sources that we have to go through, look at, read through, understand is the existing documentation, existing documents, yeah. Law documents, can be organizational documents, can be, sometimes they have the documentation of the system, the previous system or the existing systems, yeah. So you have to go and look at it, yeah. And then of course, existing systems, whether it's a software systems or the manual systems or whatever systems, yeah, that is supporting the current business process of the organization that we are actually supposed to develop a new system for them, yeah. So we also have, we also call this as one type of requirement sources, existing system. All right. So we highlight again, these are the 3 types of requirement sources, yeah. So of course the stakeholders just now we mentioned so many about them, yeah. Of course these are the things, yeah. And then we talk about existing system, actually about the business processes and so on. So include here actually, yeah, existing systems, okay. So it's very important for us to document information about stakeholders as well. Yeah, besides we want to actually document the requirements, the specification of requirements, yeah. But as the time goes, yeah, during our process of requirements engineering process, requirements elicitation, we want to actually be able to document the stakeholders, yeah. Just we mentioned earlier, yeah, their roles, yeah, what are the things that they can actually contribute to us and so on, yeah. So important to document information about stakeholders. So you might want to come up with a tool, yeah, that is able, yeah, to be able to keep track of information about stakeholders. All right. Essential principles dealing with stakeholders, and so we need to know as well the critical activities with the requirements elicitation. So basically, that's about the lecture. I know it's short, yeah, but I think that it covers a lot of information there that you need to go through and try to understand them. Okay, but I give you one particular case study, maybe a simple one, but at least to portray to us, how we can actually identify relevant stakeholders from this case study. Can we? Anyone want to volunteer reading for me? Just now, who is that? Akida? No, Akida, are you there? Yeah, can you read for me, Akida?
But
the case study? Yeah.
The screen is not there.
Okay, sorry?
The screen.
The screen is too small?
No. The screen is blank.
Oh, you cannot see?
Yeah.
Oh. Is one also? Can I see this one, is it? Is one?
I think it's my internet, I guess.
All right, okay, fine. Okay, Akida, hopefully it works for you later. Yeah, the slides will come. Okay. Who can read for me? Izwan, you can read for me? Muhammad Izwan Abdul Salim.
Hello?
Yes, Izwan, go ahead. Read for me, can you?
Sure. Okay. Case stakeholder
Yeah, the
identification.
case study, yes.
This ABC company has to develop a collision avoidance system. A competitor has developed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ABC company has also decided to develop the system.
Right.
This CS
This collision avoidance systems, yes.
This CS should be able to identify pedestrians at the roadside which are walking to the road. These pedestrians are potential hazard to the driver. Therefore, the collision avoidance system should avert danger for the driver by early warning alerts. There shall be different type of alerts available. They should be assigned by the threat the pedestrian represents. For the calculation of the threat category, it is important to know the distance of the pedestrian to the car. Moreover, there are many literature which focus on algorithms to compute the distance. The distance sensors which have already been integrated to the car should be used by the new system. The company has also obtained a lot of information regarding the sensors in their database. The system shall be introduced in several Asian markets, so it is necessary to take existing laws into the account.
All right, thank you, Izwan. Okay, so can we identify some of the stakeholders here? All right, we can actually, it's up to you. Yeah, I just try to classify them. Of course, you can also find a lot of stakeholders that you might think that can provide us requirements. Yeah, so I just identify some of them here. Maybe you can add more. Yeah, so in the subject context, yeah, subject context is more on the information that we can keep track inside the system itself. Yeah, what are the information that is necessary? Yeah. Information about that particular objects, yeah, that we need to keep inside our system. Yeah. So of course, I just put here two. It can be many more. It can be many more. So in terms of context objects, yeah, we can get information. We need to keep track of the information about the drivers, maybe because the system going to, keep track about the drivers itself, right? So they need to keep track of the information about the drivers, the pedestrian, about the cars, maybe, yeah, the distance of the cars toward the existing cars, yeah, it can be other cars as well, yeah, the information about outside there, yeah. And also you can think of others, yeah, if you look at this, what are the information, yeah, that is needed, yeah, that is important, that can be considered as a context objects, yeah. Yeah. I say context subjects first, before I go to the stakeholders. Okay, sorry about that. But context subject is the information that can give influence. Yeah, context object are the any objects that can give influence to the system, right? That is important to the system. Yeah, in other words, yeah. Some of them can be stakeholders. Yeah, of course. Some of them can be maybe others. Yeah, not necessarily stakeholders. Yeah, can be the existing documents and so on. Yeah. So when we talk about context subjects, it's much wider lah. It also includes stakeholders, but it can also be any other objects that can give influence to the system. Yeah. All right. So I know it's quite misleading here because I mentioned just stakeholders, but basically when I ask you to identify here, I want you to identify not just stakeholders, but it can also be context objects. Get it? Yeah. All right. So I just mentioned here 2 at least, but of course you can put more. Yeah. What are other stakeholders that you think is my important? Yeah. In this case, these are the 2 stakeholders that I can identify directly. Yeah. Also context subject we can say. Yeah. In other RE context. Yeah. The automotive expert, the law attorney. Yeah. Can be our stakeholders that can advise us about the automation. Yeah. About the cars. And as well as about the law. You can have other laws, other stakeholders as well, right? That can actually provide us information about the law or about anything to do with the cars, yeah? All right. And then in the development context, so are the possible stakeholders, all this lah, yeah? Is that, yes, what do you want to say? Is that the... Sorry. Sorry about this. Okay, is that what do you want to say? Is that any comments?
No, just asking how about the traffic and road? Is it like other context as well?
Sorry, louder.
I'm just asking if traffic and road system involved.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, of course. Yeah, they can be in here, right? The possible stakeholders. Yeah, the traffic people, the traffic experts. Yeah, about the roads and so on. Yeah. So of course in here as well. Yeah, RE context. Yeah. Anything else? That's good. Is that any other context subjects that you can think of? Yeah, in that particular case study that can helps to give information about the requirements. Anything else, Kisha?
How about the CCTV in the road, along the road?
The CCTV along the road. So yes. In terms of the, you mean the experts about the CCTV? Or
yes, GPG, Road Transport something Department of Malaysia.
Yes, they can be the stakeholders as well, yeah, in terms of giving us information about the road. Yes, thank you, Kishop. Anything else? Anyone else that you think can provide us to be either context subjects or stakeholders to this system? We talk a lot about what just now? If you notice, they're talking about all this, right, Zamil? Louder, Zamil. You can talk.
Doctor, how about the AES along the traffic lights?
About what? Sorry?
AES, system requirement for AES.
ATL?
AES. Road camera.
You mean inside the road or inside the car?
Inside the road, at the road.
At the road. Some of the cameras lah.
Cameras.
Are there a lot of cameras?
Yeah, along the highway and the road. This is called the traffic camera.
All right. Okay. Maybe the stakeholders who is in charge of them, yeah, might give us some information, yeah. about the potential information that we can get from the system. Right?
It's a bit long shot, but how about insurances?
But the insurance, yes, yeah, it can be, because we would need to see as well, because it involves the collision and so on. It may have an impact, So maybe they can provide us some information as well, about the potential impact to the people, how much insurance should be covered and so on. Thank you, Marijona. Yes. They talk about sensors just now, right? A lot of sensors there, So maybe the sensor expert can also give, can be the stakeholders for the systems? Yes? Yes or no? Kishok, what do you think?
Yes, doctor.
All right. Okay. You seem tired. Okay, so you can see that there is a lot of actually stakeholders, that we can identify the contact subjects as well, that you can actually try to identify that. Actually, if you want to see what I try to group here is a kind of try to help you lah here within the, at least we can actually categorize into at least a few, 5 categories, of contact subjects, the subjects, the one that actually contact subject is the objects that actually can be the information that we want to keep track of, that can later be inside our system. Users is the users of the system, who are the potential users of the systems. And then we can have people, in the context of IT, it can be other systems, can be the stakeholders, can be all these interconnecting supporting systems as well. And then we have development context. So you can identify stakeholders or the what we call contact subjects within the development itself. The one that developers, the one that going to develop the systems. All this. Potential. And then we also have others. Others contacts. That can also give influence to us, like the automotive expert, like you mentioned just now, the JPJ people, the law attorney, or the patent attorney, maybe. The one that you mentioned just now about the insurance people as well. They can give advice about what kind of collision that can occur, what kind of impacts, and what are the potential insurance policies that the users should be able to take and so on. So all these are potential contact subjects. In the bigger words, I mentioned contact subjects. In the one of the main categories can be the stakeholders lah. Yes, Kishore, mention it to me, please. What do you want to say? Sorry.
Doctor, how about the system developed by the competitor? Shall we consider them as a context object as well?
Oh, okay, the experts, unless we are able to get hold of them lah, they can provide us with information. Why not? But the context subject, yes, context subjects may not be direct stakeholders, but they can we can consider the information about the system, the competitor system, as a context objects as well. The objects that can influence the system that you want to develop. Context subjects are the objects that can influence the system that you want to develop. So the competitor system can be the context subjects. All right, Kisha, clear?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
All right. Okay, so having said that, so this one is not clear, Can you read? It's difficult to read, is it? Actually, this one I want to highlight to you how actually one objective can relate to the high-level functionalities, to the user case, and to the system requirements. So I mentioned to you earlier that actually most of the time all this has to be supporting each other. When we write about the objective of the system, you want the objective to be supported by high-level functionalities of the systems, and then based on the high-level functionalities, we're able to derive the use cases, appropriate use cases, in other words, user requirements lah, and then based on each requirements, you can have several of system requirements. System requirements are very smaller, That means, in other words, I'm saying that one objective can have multiple high-level functionalities. Based on one functionalities, high-level functionalities can have several user requirements. And then based on one use case, we can have several systems requirements. You see, one to many most of the time. Yeah. So if you're able to do this is one technique in which we'll be able to derive from the top down, yeah, from the top objective that we have identified to identify the to the high level functionalities. From the functionalities, we'll be able to get the user requirements, or in other words, use cases. Based on each use case, we're going to come up with the system requirements. Yeah. So if you want to also make sure that you are actually complete, yeah, with your users, you can also do bottom up. Yeah, sometimes you don't know about the objective, they don't tell you. Yeah, so you go bottom up, meaning that you collect all the requirements, the things that they want, and then based on that, you try to arrange them, try to analyze so that we come up with the proper high-level functionalities, and then based on the high-level functionalities, you coming out with the objective of the systems. Yeah, and sometimes find this together. Yeah, you have top-down and bottom-up. They call it a hybrid approach to requirement specification. Yeah, in which they combine between the top-down approach. Maybe that means they try to highlight or they collect some of the objective from the main users. And at the same time, they go and look at the detail, the scenarios, how actually people perform their work. So they specify all these system requirements, yeah, and then they try to merge these together to meet, yeah, so that they come up with a very, systematic, yeah, requirements that actually, all the requirements are actually supporting the objective that they have highlighted. So this is the way that we can specify our requirements in a more systematic way. Yeah, I just explained to you, yeah. Because sometimes, if you don't actually do this kind of analysis, it seems like you just take out any objective you want, any functionalities that you want, you just put, you know, so they are not supporting each other. So that is a not good requirement specification, because they are some of the requirements you just put whatever that you're able to get from your users, which are not actually supporting the objective, the main objective that they want. Yeah, so just a technique as well, yeah, on how you can derive system requirements from the objective, yeah, the main objective, and then you can go through this in a more systematic way. Yeah, I give you examples in document. You have to go through, maybe you can just see how actually this can be derived, yeah. Details as well, yeah. For example, this one, provide assessment facilities. Based on this particular functionalities, you'll be able to get, yeah, the use cases. Users shall be able to sit for a test once a week, and the user shall be able to select the test and the time to sit for it. Yeah, so that is user requirements, right? And then based on this requirement, you can derive several system requirements, yeah, in order to serve how actually user shall be able to sit. So system shall provide the user with the ability to select the available tests. Maybe the system should be able to provide the user with the ability to see the results of the tests, right? And then the user can also, system should also provide the user with the potential tests that need to be taken, yeah? So this can be all serving these particular use cases, right? So you can see there is supporting, yeah, it's supporting the system requirements, is supporting the user requirements, and the user requirements is supporting the high level requirements. And of course, the high level requirements has the main objective just now, yeah, to be able to provide tests, yeah, to the users, yeah. So that is the high level learning system, yeah. So you can see this is one way to be able to derive systematic requirements, yeah, good requirements, yeah, from the objective. Okay, so I think that is about it. So any questions? This one is flexible, yeah, but this one is to highlight to you the potential stakeholders and the context objects, basically, that we can. So of course, like I mentioned to you, RE involve a lot of dimensions, yeah, especially the people and so on, yeah. So if you ask me, there is no one correct answers, but please give the logical answer, yeah, the acceptable answers, yeah. So in this case, of course, these are potential answers or context objects to the question, yeah, or to the case studies that we have already discussed, yeah. but there is no one. I mean, this is the only, so that we are not like mathematician. We actually more try to understand what's needed. Similarly, some of the stakeholders, we have to, if there's so many stakeholders, we have to prioritize based on the importance of the stakeholders at the same time. So it's best for us to actually first identify them and then prioritize them and then be able to communicate or try to be able to see them, to get the requirements. So that's what we mean by all this, identifying stakeholders, try to prioritize requirements and so on. Okay. Any questions before I think that's all for this week. Yes, what do you say, potential stakeholders, right? What is the question again, Oh, okay. You're asking about that. All right. I mentioned to you just now that stakeholders is one of the types of context objects. Context objects actually is defined as any objects that's going to influence, the systems, right? But stakeholders are what actually? Stakeholders are always people, usually the people. But stakeholders is one part of the context objects lah. One. I mean, inside context object bigger, stakeholders is one of them. All right. But we also mentioned that there are 3 types of requirement sources, right? So these are all can be considered context objects. Stakeholders are context subject. Existing documents, everything, documentation, everything that can influence the system is also context objects. Existing systems, also context objects. So context object is very, very big. Any objects within the context, that can give influence to the system is considered context objects. Remember that last week we have defined that, in the lecture, and then today we extend a little bit. We're saying that, clear, is it? Any questions? All right. Okay, good. Cannot see the chat here. Oh, yeah, I see it, is it? Oh, I will go down a little bit. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you try just a term, because I have several references, so that's why I have to explain these things, because sometimes the books may have different terminologies, but they mean the same thing, but they might use different terminologies. The system developed by the computer can be context objects. That's a question, right? Who asked this? Oh, Kishok asked this. All right, I just read Kishok. Okay, so I hope you get it. So remember this one, there are at least 3 types of requirement sources: stakeholders, existing documents, and existing systems. All these actually are context objects. Stakeholders is just one type of requirement sources or one type of context objects. And if you want to simplify yourself, you can also look like the one that I tried to categorize here, in terms of the subject facet, users facet, IT system facet. So context objects in the bigger scope can be categorized into these 5 facets. They call it facet lah. It can be subject facet, all the information that we can keep track of. These context objects within the subject context, within the subject facet, is about information that can be kept inside our system. The information that can be kept inside our system. If we develop a student information system, student will be context objects in this subject facet, because we keep information about student, right, in the student information system. We keep information about courses, right? So courses can be context objects in the subject facet. So any information that is potential to be kept as information in our system to be developed, we can consider that context objects in the subject facet. Okay, another facet is the users. Who's going to use the systems? The drivers in our case, this case study, the drivers, the pedestrian, maybe the administrator. So all these are the users. It's also important because the users can be the stakeholders as well, right? So we can identify this, yeah. And then we have to identify as well all the context objects in the IT system, yeah, that can help us as well, yeah. The communicator protocol expert, the sensor developers, all this, yeah. In the IT system facets, there can be other systems as well, other systems that communicate with us, with the potential system, yeah. Yeah, maybe we have a banking system or the payment systems, yeah, all this, yeah, potential IT system that can communicate with the system that you want to develop, yeah. So that is under IT system facet, yeah. And then we have development context, all the people involved in the development, and then other RE context, anyone, yeah, maybe any stakeholders or any objects like you mentioned just now, the insurance people, or maybe the one that you mentioned just now, what about the competitor, yeah, can be under here, other RE context objects. Okay. Okay, yeah, hopefully, yeah, you get it. Kishore, okay? Anyone else? Kishore, any question?
No.
Yeah, okay. So please review chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, yeah? Already we have covered for this week 3. We don't have tutorial this week. We see you next week, yeah? For this chapter tutorial, yeah? So you have the time to review a little bit before you start to be able to, you know, to test your understanding on the chapters. All right, Marijana? You able to access the spectrum already, Mariana?
No, not yet. Hopefully, I will know what's going on.
Oh, yeah, all the best to you, yeah?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's all I think, yeah? Hopefully you learned something today. See you next week for the lectures and the tutorial. And please keep track as well. Most of you have registered for the projects. If you have faced any problem, I think some of you are very good. They're able to put in the conversation, the chat, yeah, to advertise. They need projects and so on. So please use the platform of Microsoft Teams to get to the projects. For most of you, I think more than 10 projects groups has registered their projects. That's very good. Get familiar as well with the SRS that already uploaded to you on week 1, yeah. There is a sample of SRS to be used, yeah. So you already identify your projects, yeah. Maybe not this week, so next week if you have any questions, please bring in, and then you can ask me questions about your project as well, yeah, because you need to complete your SRS for the existing projects. Sorry, for project 1, you have to choose one of the existing systems and then complete the SRS to describe about the system that you have selected. Okay, all right. And then you have to submit to me, yeah, by week. Already put there. What week you have to submit for project 1? Project 1 will be on week 9, yeah. So you have time, yeah. Week 9 will be your project 1 submission. And then you have the quiz on week 8. So please, just please make sure that you're on schedule, because the time flies very fast, So we are in week 3, So hopefully you will be able to catch, to perform your projects lah, Okay, so Muhammad Fuad, what you can do, you can put in the chat, in our Microsoft team. So I remember your name. So if any other people that doesn't have group as well, can contact Muhammad Fuad Hasan, because he needs a group. So please put your, try to advertise yourself at the Microsoft team chat in our SRE class team, Muhammad Fuad. So anyone else can try to contact Muhammad Fuad to get the groups. I'm sorry, actually, when I notice that some of you might face problems. So because from last year, actually, I have no problem for most of the students trying to find groups, Maybe next time I can actually just put all of you together already, I form the group for you. That much easier, But for this one, because it's already been done, most of you, a lot of you have groups already. So if you don't have group, please make sure that you try to find, try to advertise yourself in the chat, in the chat in our Microsoft team. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good week ahead. See you next week.
Do we have quiz next week?
Sorry?
quiz next week?
What is question again?
Do we have quiz next week?
You have to follow the quiz. Quiz is on week 8.
Oh,
Quiz 1 is on week 8. Yeah.
okay.
All right. Okay. There will be announcement on the spectrum if there is any quiz, as well as when the project 1 is due. I will also make announcement, at the spectrum. Okay, Lee Kwan, thank you.
Hello, Doctor.
Any other things? Yeah.
So next week will be normal lecture and normal tutorial.
Correct. Yes. You want a quiz, Chulin?
Yes, I'm Shirley.
Yeah. No, I just teasing. Okay. So we just have a normal lectures and the normal tutorial. Yes. Okay. Okay, Chui? Healing?
Yes. Okay, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Please upload the one that had just record this just now. Oh my god, sorry now. Please upload your please upload the recorded one, yeah.